Hi everyone. If you can see me, if you can hear me, thank you for joining Leadership Lens episode tonight. My name is Funkeola Onipekun. Thank you so much for joining me. Think of a time when you have a situation at hand that you don't know what to do. Maybe in your leadership journey, if you've ever been stuck in decision making, there is an unprecedented situation and you don't just know what to do. You're confused. Have you ever been in that position? I have. And so if you say yes to that, you are not alone. This is Leadership Lens Academy, where we talk about leadership, strategic management, strategic planning, change, and critical thinking and decision making. Thank you for joining me. All right. So, in case you're faced with challenges and circumstances and you're wondering, how do I go about this? What do I do? I have not experienced this before. I don't have first-hand information about this. How can I go about it? Today, I'm taking you through 3 steps of adaptive leadership, which help you to not only understand the situation, but help you to make smart, quick decisions that keep you on the go, which eventually gives you confidence in your leadership journey and continuously help you to gain trust among your team. Because the more competent you become, the more the trust you gain from your team members. If you can see me or hear me, if you've got a circumstances or situation at hand, and that's really much what we're talking tonight, I would like you to put it in the comment section. Give me 1 second while I share my screen. All right. So today we're talking about leadership, adaptive leadership, the adaptive leadership formula, how to lead and thrive in uncertain time. You will agree with me that we live in uncertain times and circumstances now. In today's fast-changing world, leadership is not just about making decisions. It's about adapting fast. It's about thinking on your toes. It's about being able to understand what is going on and flow with the current. Otherwise, you will be left behind. Because what worked yesterday is not necessarily going to work today. The formula that worked yesterday might not work today. Why? The world is changing, it's not stagnant, things are changing. AI is rapidly bringing out things that we have not even understand yet. So the earlier you join the trade, the earlier you rise up to the task and find out what can I do, what's going on, how can I be part of this, what is this doing to my leadership, what is this doing to my business, what is this doing to my organization, how can I salvage my organization from any difficult situation and circumstances that is coming my way. So that's why today I'm teaching you a 3 step adaptive leadership formula. It will help you to lead with confidence. It will help you to make fast, smart, meaningful decisions that keep you on the go. And you also future prove your leadership success in your journey. So, what are we going to learn? Today, we will learn about adaptive leadership. What does adaptive leadership really mean? How does it affect you? Why do you need to be adaptive? What does it entail? And I'll present to you also the 3 step formula that will keep you running and going in your adaptive leadership journey. We're going to do practical tips that will help you to make this decision, and we will do real world example. I realize that so many of us, we buy books, we read, and the situations and circumstances, some of us are even very good with for paying with courses and things around the world. But the difference between the success they record, whoever has written that book record, and you not being able to reproduce that effect is simply that the example that you were given, the circumstances that surrounded the explanation is different from what is happening in your region. So today we will bring it down to real world example. And I'll be glad if you have a situation or a challenge at hand. If you put them in the comment section, we might be able to bring them up and help you to make decisions, at least give you clues on what to look out for in making this decision. You remember, if you want to stay um, meaningful, if you want to stay relevant in this journey, you've got to learn to adapt to change. You've got to be able to be sensitive to what is happening in your environment and don't just react. Don't wait, because what most people do is to react. Something is happening. because things don't just suddenly happen. All right. We understand that there are disasters, there are unplanned things, but some things are things that are already around the corner. But because we have not taken our time to see the clear picture, so most time it caught people unaware, and before they know it, they could not meet up the train. So thank you for joining me. We salvage that situation today. We're not going to be left out. What is adaptive leadership? Adaptive leadership is about navigating uncertainty, your ability to navigate things that does not really, it doesn't make sense. You don't understand. What should we do now? Should we go left? Should we go right? How will this affect us? What effect will this go in the next 5 years? Are we really affected? Oh, does it really affect our profit? Oh, is there something happening to our team? Navigating uncertainty, adjusting quickly, ability to lead through change, and not just live through it but survive after the change have eventually happened. You're not just surviving, you're thriving, you're following the currents, to grow. For example, AI is everywhere now. Where some people are thinking AI is not good, you shouldn't be part of it. Some other people believe that AI is going to replace their jobs. Some other people are thinking, what can we do with AI? Can I encourage you? AI is here to stay. I'll say that to you. So instead of you sitting back and saying it's not going to work, it's already working. It's everywhere. And instead of you saying it's going to take up my job, if you're already sensing that, that's a clue. That's something to work on. So instead of working against AI or folding your hands and waiting until AI is going to take your job or take over your leadership skills or take over the things that you do, take over the things that bring profit in your organizations and your entrepreneurial journey. It is time to flow with the current. It is time for you to identify what is going to happen. So many people are not certain about what AI will bring in the next 5, 10, 20 years. The clues are already there. So it is time for you to start navigating that uncertainty, adjusting as quickly as possible, and you being able to lead through this change. So why? Why do we need to learn adaptive leadership? Don't forget, adaptive leadership is about navigating uncertainty. So why do we need to navigate uncertainty? Why do we need to adapt? We live in a changing world. I'm sure you will agree with me. We live in a fast, rapidly changing world. Things are changing in the twinkle of an eye. The programs that worked yesterday no longer work now. Even the ones that are still hanging, the new ones are coming. All right. I remember those days in the world of fashion. When you want to get a new dress, you go out there in the market and buy a new fabric. You go through the stress of getting a good fabric, the color you want, and then you go to a fashion designer and say, "Oh, I found a style. Can you make this style for me?" Then negotiation, maybe come back 10 days, maybe come back 2 weeks. Some people end up with disappointment. You would have had somebody who it was time to get back their clothes and it was not ready. Have you noticed that that has changed now? People have moved from that era. People now do ready to wear. They call it ready to wear, that fashion designer already have your size, they have something of your color, they have something that is perfect. All you need to do is to look at it, identify the size, and just spray on the go. What has happened there? That's a change, isn't it? That's a shift. So if you are a fashion designer, for example, and you still have a shop where you wait for people to bring in their fabrics, do I need to tell you that people have left you behind? Do I need to tell you that that has changed? You have not adapted to you are yet to adapt to the new system. So adaptation is the most important thing you need in your leadership journey to be relevant. So the number one reason you need to do that is because things are changing. You have to follow the course or you'll be left behind. Identify what is going on in your business. Identify what is going on in your organization, in the industry where you belong. I've used the designers as an example, but this exists in every form. AI is going to do a lot of things with people's job in organization. It's not going to throw us away, but it's going to shake things together. So you need to learn how to adapt. What about remote working? Who have had that you will sit down? I think in the last 10 years, Before the era of COVID, not so many people understand working from distance. Not so many people understand what work from home means. Not so many people understand what freelancing is. Now you can stay in any part of the world, register on the platform, and exchange and have interaction, do businesses for anybody in the world. What is that? That's change. That's adaptation. That's why you need to learn how to adapt in your leadership journey. There is a shift. There is a market shift. We can't deny that. So the earlier you join, the better, because you want to maintain your relevance. So we just have to join this. Ready? So let's talk about the 3 steps adaptive leadership formula. What is the number one thing you should do in order for you to be able to adapt in your leadership journey? Number one is situation awareness. If you've read Steve Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leader before, he talked about being proactive. Proactiveness is simply looking ahead, identifying what is coming, and not waiting for it to catch you unawares, but you are so prepared in such a way that by the time it comes, you have things that you can leverage on. It's not cutting you unawares, you're not reacting. That's one bad thing we do in Africa. We wait for situation to overtake and overwhelm us. Then we now start looking for reaction. It's like trying to raise the dead. It's like treating what is already dead, Whereas there is a lot of preventive things that we can put in place that will not even make us to get to the recovery stage, to this kind of reviving stage that we always find ourselves. So number one, situational awareness. And the practical tips I have for you here is 3 questions that you should ask. So ask yourself, what is changing in my industry? For example, if you're a nurse, years ago, to be a registered nurse, you need to have some certain degrees. You need to go through some hurdles. You need to be a nurse. You need to go to maybe diploma registered nurse 3 years for if you're in Nigeria, and then go forward for your BSc and then do a specialty. In the past 3 or 4 years, things have changed. For example, in the UK now, somebody who have studied agricultural science in Nigeria can now come to the UK to do masters for 2 years and become a nurse. What does that tell you? Times and seasons are changing. So ask yourself, what is changing in my industry? How are my competitors responding to this change? Because there is a reaction. When you see a particular product or a particular company who have similar products in the market, sometimes you just suddenly notice that they are doing promo. That's because there is a change. Those promos, those sales that you see, they don't just come about. They have sent something, and there is a way they are responding to that change. So you ask yourself, how are my competitors responding? For example, if you're in business, you are doing something that has to do with telecommunication or something. Ask yourself, how are my competitors responding? Are they putting out sales? Are they bringing out new products? Are they stopping 1 or 2 things that they have been doing before? Are they repackaging their services? Identify what your competitors are doing. Then number 3 question, the practical things you should do is, what is my biggest blind spot? You know what blind spot is? That area that is not so obvious. That area that people cannot really see. You see, when handsets became a thing, Nokia was one of the first known products all over the world. Then BlackBerry came. Then everybody was happy because Nokia was durable. But you know what happened all of a sudden? As people are moving into smartness, replacing the keyboards and everything with what you can do on your screen, replacing the BB chat thing, and where immediately things like WhatsApp and other platforms started coming. These 2 companies did not see the change. They did not quickly follow the trend and make something and come out with something. They did not respond. What is the result? Apple, Samsung, what are you? They took over that challenge, and the rest is history, which you know. So, do a situational awareness. Always ask yourself, what is changing in my industry? Identify what is changing. Don't wait until the change comes. You look at it. You be proactive. There is no box, I always tell people, but in case you have a box, look outside the box. Look outside. When you are in an enclosed place, you only see where you are. Try and look out through the sky, look out through the window, see what is happening next door, see what is happening around. Look at the way people are responding to it. And that's the most important situation in for you to be able to be adaptive. Because what you cannot see, you cannot change. What you cannot see, you cannot affect. What you cannot see, you cannot adapt to. The change you cannot see, you cannot respond to it. You cannot do anything about it. So, what change is living in your industry? Let me see your comments in the comment section. The number two step of this three-step adaptive leadership theory is decision agility. Once you identify this decision, once you identify this change, I mean, you understand what is going on in your industry. What do? Make a decision. And this is why so many people get stuck. They want to have 100% figure, facts, details about everything that is going on. I tell you today, a successful leader does not wait for 100% facts before they move. There is something called intuition, and you need to learn to put your intuition to work. So what will you do? Once you are able to answer the first three questions we asked. Once you are able to answer it, for you being able to answer that question, I believe you will, if you answer it correctly, you will have minimum of 60 to 70% of the situation. Add your intuition to it and move. Move. Somebody is saying, what if I lose money? So let's go there. Let's show you what to do. Identify the risk that is attributed to the change that you want to make. What's the risk? For example, if it warrants you rolling out a new product, what happened? What can we lose? What can we gain? Once you are able to identify the risk, so you ask yourself, what is the worst that will happen if I make this decision? If it is something that you will recover from, then make the move. Move. It might work and it might not work, and that's your work as a leader. That's the work of a creative. Some things don't work. But the good thing about it is this. You have nothing to lose, but you have everything to learn. So when you are committing to this risk as well, which is why you should ask yourself, what am I going to lose if I do it? Is this something that I can recover from? Is this something that can completely wreck my business? Well, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that will completely wipe out your business. But you sit down and bring out a tangible percentage that you know that if we step out with this risk, we are not going to completely lose and we can also recover from it, then take the move. Be agile with your decision. You have to keep on the curve and the edge, be on top of the curve. You can't afford to be down. All right, you can't afford to be at the base of the curve. You can't afford that, because this is what happened. That's why you see somebody say, oh, what business is going on fine now? What business can we do? And they tell you, start selling parts of telephone parts and things like that. While you're still thinking, will it work? Will it not work? The market is already getting saturated. And by the time you get there, you feel like disappointed. I thought they said it was working. That's because you did not identify what was changing before. That's because either you did not identify what needed to be done, or you were too slow in your decision-making process. Don't forget, you are not the only one out there. You've got competitors. The only way to be at the edge is to make quick decisions and be fast to it. So, if you can recover, please make the move. And once you move, oh, did you see that man running? Run with it. Run with it. Document every stage of the process. Document every process as you go. Identify your learning, and also always find time to go through what the decision you have made. Find out how it's moving. Find out if it's something you need to stop. So find out if it's something you need to adjust. Find out if it's something you need to put more. But you will never be able to do any of this if you have not in the first place move. So what do I tell you? Move, and move very fast. Number three thing to do is to stay ahead of the curve. You don't want to be at the edge of the curve. You don't want to be below the curve. Stay ahead of the curve. How do you get there? Read books, travel far and wide. If you cannot afford to travel the world, let me tell you the cheapest method. The cheapest method for you to travel the world is through a book. Buy books. When you buy them, read them. And when I say buy book, read books, that's particularly books that are related to the industry in which you are. Find out what is going on. Follow research studies. Why? Because the time is short. You don't have all the time to experiment on your own. Some people have already experimented and they have evidence to show. There's something called evidence-based practice. There is evidence somewhere. These things that you are going to do, people are already doing it. All right? There are people ahead of you. Read, go to seminars, go to exhibitions, do training, and listen to podcasts. By all means, 10 to 15 minutes a day. Make it an habit to study what is going on in your industry. Make it an habit to understand what really works and what does not work here. Make it an habit to understand how change itself is a process. Understand how change occurs and how to follow the trend of change and how to make change happen in your organization. I remember Mrs. Ibukawoshika mentioned that she needed to do a furniture. She's into furniture. She needed to do furniture for an establishment, and they gave her something that literally does not exist. And she picked up the challenge for herself. You know what she said that interested me the most? She said she sat down, locked herself up 2 to 3 days, got pieces of papers, brought out magazines, and remembered different exhibitions that she has gone through in the past and began to create and began to picture out and began to design. She said after about 2 days, she came out with something and it was worth it. What if she hasn't gone to any exhibition? What if she haven't been to places that help her to see things in a different way? What if she haven't read about people who have done things in such a way that encourage her to give her time to study, to bring out something unique and tangible? You want to stay ahead of the curve, you got to learn. For every successful leader, learning is a habit. Learning is not a once and for all thing. Learning continues every time and every day. So no matter how busy you think your schedule is, 10 to 15 minutes every day, commit it to finding out what is going on in your organization, in the industry where you belong to. Maybe listening to podcasts, maybe doing a training, maybe going for webinars and exhibition, maybe reading a book of successful people in your industry. Whatever you do, make sure you keep learning. So let's recap. We've been talking about adaptive leadership because we know change is inevitable. Change is everywhere. Change is moving straight. Is occurring as fast, more than we can ever think, more than ever before. Things are changing rapidly. The method that worked yesterday are no longer working. Because now it's so funny, we have different levels and age of people in the workforce. Some people are 60, they belong to different generation, they're about going. You find that between age 60 and age 22, you have different generations at work now. So one system does not work anymore. One system does not fit anymore, especially if you start your leadership journey in the days of Gen Zers now. You know that what you will say in a meeting to Generation Alpha is different from what you will say to Gen Zers now. So you need to be able to adapt to that change. And if you think, no, we can't change, this is how we are, the only person that has the attributes of not changing is God. In as much as you are not God, you change today, you change tomorrow, and you change forever. The as it was the beginning is now and never shall be world without end. That's the only attribute that God has, not for you as a leader and not for me. So what do? We need to learn to adapt to change. We need to learn to know when things are moving and we move. We need to understand that there is a change and we need to be proactive about it. So, number one, look through the window. Out from that box. See the bigger picture. See things that are happening. Don't just look around the organization. Look at the industry as a whole and ask yourself, what is changing? How is my competitors I'm responding to it, and what are the things that I cannot even see that is going on. And the moment you identify it, act immediately. Act, don't wait, run. And the way to sustain that is by learning all the time. I just want to believe that you've been here listening to me and you understand all that we have been saying. So, this is me saying, if you find this very useful, if you find it meaningful, can I ask you to join Leadership Lens Academy on Facebook with Leadership Lens, on YouTube with Leadership Lens? Can I ask you to follow, to share, to subscribe? Really? Oh, somebody said the production. All right. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Every Sunday, we come here 6 p.m. UK time and 7 p.m. Nigeria time. Thank you so much for joining me. Until I come your way next week, I'll see you again. Bye.